What happens when a security guard unknowingly kicks the mall's owner out? A heartwarming story unfolds, proving that even the most awkward moments can lead to unexpected friendships and life-changing lessons. Don't miss the surprising twist in this touching tale of kindness, humility, and second chances. Chapter 1. A Normal Day at the Mall. The morning sun streamed through the large windows of Meadowbrook Mall, casting long, gentle beams across the polished floors. Shoppers wandered from store to store, carrying bags and chatting happily, enjoying the perfect weather. Security guards strolled through the aisles, keeping watch and ensuring everything was in order. Among them was Brad, a tall, burly man who had just started working at the mall a few months ago. He took his job seriously and was quick to enforce the rules. Keanu Reeves, meanwhile, strolled casually through the mall. He wasn't in a hurry, just taking in the sights. He had recently bought the mall after a long period of considering how to support local businesses. While his decision to purchase the property was not yet public knowledge, Keanu had hoped to make some improvements, creating a community hub that people could enjoy. But today, he was simply enjoying the afternoon as a regular shopper. Unbeknownst to Brad, the man casually browsing through the food court was none other than the new owner of the very mall he was tasked to protect. Brad had noticed Keanu before. There was something vaguely familiar about the man, but he couldn't place it. Keanu looked like someone from a movie, but Brad assumed he was just another fan of Hollywood, someone who looked like the star but wasn't actually him. He didn't think much of it. As Keanu passed by the escalators, Brad caught sight of him again, standing near the entrance to a clothing store. Something about the way the man carried himself, calm and easygoing, struck Brad as odd. "Sir, you can't hang around here. It's a mall policy to stay in designated areas for shopping only," Brad called out, striding over to Keanu. Keanu blinked, surprised by the bluntness of the security guard's approach. He hadn't been doing anything wrong, just enjoying the atmosphere as anyone else might. But Brad was adamant. "Sorry, I wasn't doing anything wrong," Keanu explained with a soft chuckle. "I don't know what you think you're doing, but we can't have people just standing around. Either buy something or move along," Brad insisted, crossing his arms in front of his chest. Keanu, still surprised, nodded, not wanting to cause any trouble. "All right, no worries. I'll move along." Chapter 2. The Dismissal. Keanu tried to walk off, not wanting to escalate the situation. He made his way toward the exit, not realizing that the security guard was following him. Brad's instincts were on high alert now. Something felt off about this guy, and he wasn't going to let it slide. "Hey, I told you to leave," Brad said as he caught up to Keanu. "We don't tolerate loitering here." Keanu turned around, sensing the growing frustration in the guard's voice. He had already tried to explain himself, but it seemed Brad wasn't listening. "I'm really sorry, I didn't mean to cause trouble," Keanu said, now clearly puzzled. He glanced around, trying to gauge the situation. "I'm just looking around. It's a nice mall." But Brad wasn't having it. He was on duty, and to him, the rules were clear. "Listen, you need to leave the property." "I've already told you twice." Keanu sighed and raised his hands in a placating gesture. "Okay, I'll leave. No need to escalate it." Brad nodded firmly, watching as Keanu began to exit the mall. It wasn't until Keanu reached the door that something changed. Brad's radio crackled in his earpiece, and the voice of his supervisor, Maria, cut through the noise. "Brad, are you there? Just a heads up, there's a VIP coming in today, Mr. Reeves, the owner of the mall." Brad froze. His stomach dropped. Mr. Reeves? The same name as the man he had just kicked out? He turned and watched Keanu step out onto the pavement, walking slowly but calmly as if nothing had happened. The realization hit Brad like a truck. His face flushed with embarrassment as the implications settled in. He had just kicked out the owner of the mall. Chapter 3. The apology. Brad rushed out of the mall, his heart pounding in his chest. He had made a mistake, one that could cost him his job. But more than that, he felt ashamed. What if Keanu had been just another ordinary person, and Brad had acted this way because of his own impatience? He spotted Keanu, who had paused at the edge of the parking lot, looking at his phone. Brad hesitated for a moment, then approached him. "Mr. Reeves," he called out, his voice trembling slightly. Keanu turned around, his expression softening when he saw the security guard. "Yeah, I'm so sorry. I didn't realize who you were. I thought you were just someone loitering, but I see now that you're the owner of the mall," Brad said, his words stumbling over each other. "I was just doing my job, but I shouldn't have treated you like that." Keanu studied Brad for a moment before breaking into a smile. "It's all right. No harm done. I understand what it's like to follow the rules, but I wasn't trying to cause any trouble. You were just doing your job." Brad looked down at his shoes, feeling an overwhelming wave of guilt wash over him. "I can't believe I did that. I'm so sorry. You've probably heard of how the staff can get, but I wasn't trying to be rude. I really admire you. I've been a fan for years." Keanu's smile widened, and he placed a hand on Brad's shoulder. "Hey, it's all right. I get it. Sometimes you don't always recognize people, especially when they're just out and about. It happens. Don't worry about it." Brad felt a mixture of relief and disbelief. Here was the man he had just escorted out of the mall, standing in front of him and offering forgiveness, like it was nothing. "You're still okay with everything?" Brad asked hesitantly. "Of course. I'm just glad we can all laugh about it," Keanu said, giving a light chuckle. "How about you come by for a coffee sometime? I'm sure there are plenty of changes I'd love your feedback on for the mall." Brad couldn't believe his ears. The man who had been kicked out, who could have made a fuss or fired him on the spot, was inviting him for a coffee and a chat. Chapter 4. A Lesson in Kindness. Over the next few weeks, Brad's life took an unexpected turn. Keanu kept his word, inviting Brad to join him for a coffee. During their conversation, they talked not just about the mall, but about life in general. Keanu, as it turned out, was genuinely interested in making Meadowbrook Mall a better place for everyone. He wanted to hear feedback from the people who worked there, people like Brad who were on the front lines. As they spoke, Keanu shared some of his own experiences, and Brad quickly realized that the actor everyone knew from films was, in fact, humble and down-to-earth. Brad learned that Keanu's desire to help others extended beyond his wealth and fame. The more he got to know him, the more Brad realized that Keanu wasn't just a Hollywood star. He was someone who genuinely cared about making a difference. Brad also learned a valuable lesson in humility. He understood now that no matter who someone was, respect and kindness should always come first. No matter what kind of mistake he had made, the true measure of a person was in how they reacted when things went wrong. Chapter 5. An Unexpected Invitation. It had been a few days since Brad had apologized to Keanu, and the awkwardness of the incident was slowly fading. He couldn't shake the feeling of disbelief every time he thought about how he had acted toward the owner of the mall, who just so happened to be one of the most famous actors in the world. Brad tried to push it from his mind. He kept his focus on his security duties and didn't expect anything further to come from the whole misunderstanding. But that afternoon, as he was making his usual rounds, something unusual happened. His phone buzzed in his pocket, interrupting his walk. Looking down at the screen, his heart skipped a beat. It was a message from an unknown number. "Hi Brad, it's Keanu. Would you be interested in grabbing a coffee sometime? I'd love to hear your thoughts on some ideas I have for the mall." Brad stared at the message, unsure if his eyes were playing tricks on him. Could it really be him? The Keanu Reeves? The man who had just been kicked out of his own mall and then had forgiven him so easily? After a deep breath, Brad typed back, Absolutely. I'd love that. When's good for you? To his surprise, the reply came almost instantly. How about tomorrow afternoon? I'll meet you at the coffee shop near the entrance. Looking forward to it. Brad's hands trembled slightly as he put his phone away. He couldn't believe this was happening. What could Keanu possibly want to talk to him about? Maybe it was just a casual gesture, but it felt more significant than that. He didn't want to let this chance slip by. Chapter 6. The Coffee Shop Conversation. The following afternoon, Brad arrived at the coffee shop early, pacing nervously as he glanced at his watch. He wasn't sure what to expect. Keanu was a famous actor, a man who had played so many iconic roles. He was used to seeing him on the big screen, not in a casual setting like this. Brad fidgeted with his coat, feeling out of place in his security uniform. He had never imagined he'd be meeting someone like Keanu under these circumstances. What would they talk about? What could he possibly offer the man who had everything? The door to the coffee shop jingled, and Brad looked up. There, walking toward him with an easy smile, was Keanu. He was dressed simply in jeans and a jacket, no entourage, no fanfare. Just Keanu. Hey, Brad. Good to see you, Keanu greeted with a warm handshake, his voice relaxed. Hope I'm not keeping you waiting too long. Brad couldn't help but feel at ease. The man had a way of making you feel comfortable right away. He gestured for Brad to sit down at one of the tables, and soon the two were seated with coffee in hand, ready to chat. So, what's on your mind? Brad asked, trying to sound casual. Keanu leaned back in his chair, looking thoughtful. Well, I've been thinking a lot about the future of this mall, he began. It's been my dream to make it more than just a shopping center. I want it to be a place where the community can really come together, where people feel connected. Brad nodded, impressed. He had heard about how Keanu had always been passionate about helping others, but hearing it firsthand made it feel more real. Keanu continued, I've seen how hard you work here. You and the rest of the staff. And I know it's not always the easiest job, especially dealing with all kinds of people. I wanted to ask you, what do you think would make the mall feel more welcoming? What could we do differently? Brad was taken aback. Keanu was genuinely interested in his opinion? This wasn't some publicity stunt. The man was really asking for his thoughts. After a brief pause, Brad spoke up, Well, I think the community aspect is huge. People want to feel like they're part of something bigger when they come here. Maybe we could host events or even some local markets, things that bring people together. Keanu's eyes lit up. That's exactly the kind of thing I had in mind. Events, workshops, local artists showcasing their work, live music. I think it would make a big difference. Brad smiled, starting to feel more comfortable. It's funny you mention it. People here are craving connection. We've got the space for it, but it's all about creating an environment that feels warm and welcoming. Keanu nodded thoughtfully. I agree. It's not just about the stores, it's about the experience. I want people to leave with a sense of belonging, like they've spent time with friends, even if they're just shopping. For the next hour, Brad and Keanu brainstormed ideas. Brad suggested using the mall's atrium for open mic nights, while Keanu threw out the idea of hosting food trucks to add variety. They talked about creating spaces for small local businesses to showcase their products and ways to get the surrounding community involved. Keanu listened intently to every word, taking mental notes. At times, he would pause and reflect on an idea, while Brad spoke with more enthusiasm than he'd felt in ages. He realized he was actually making a difference in this conversation, and it was all because Keanu had taken the time to reach out. Before Brad knew it, the conversation shifted, and Keanu was talking about something a little more personal. You know, Brad, Keanu said with a soft chuckle, people always think I've got it all figured out. They think I'm this perfect person who's got everything under control. But the truth is, I've had my share of mistakes too. Like the way you kicked me out of the mall. Brad's face turned bright red as he tried to apologize again. I'm really sorry about that. I didn't realize who you were at the time, but I should have handled it better. Keanu laughed, holding up a hand. Don't worry about it. Honestly, it was kind of funny. It made me feel like a normal person for once. The way I see it, sometimes a little humility is good for all of us. Brad looked at Keanu, trying to understand how someone so famous could be so grounded. I don't get it. How are you always so calm and understanding? Keanu shrugged with a small grin. I think we all have to learn how to be kind to others and ourselves. The world doesn't need more anger. What it needs is more people who care, who listen, and who show up. Life's too short for anything else. Brad was in awe. The man sitting in front of him wasn't just a Hollywood star. He was someone who believed in the good in others, someone who used his platform to make the world a better place. Keanu, I've got to be honest. I never expected any of this. I never thought I'd have this chance to sit here and talk with you, Brad said, feeling a sense of gratitude. Keanu smiled warmly. That's why I reached out. I think we all have something to offer, no matter who we are. I wanted to thank you for your honesty and for taking the time to help me with these ideas. Chapter 7. A New Beginning. As the afternoon wore on, Brad realized that the conversation wasn't just about improving the mall. It was about something much bigger, understanding that everyone, no matter their status or background, had a story to tell. The meeting with Keanu had changed his perspective in ways he hadn't anticipated. Keanu didn't just want to create a mall, he wanted to build a community. And Brad realized that his role in this journey was just as important as anyone else's. Before parting ways, Keanu shook Brad's hand once again and said, "You've got a great heart, Brad. Don't let anyone make you feel small. The work you do matters. And remember, you're never alone in this." Brad smiled, feeling a sense of pride and warmth. "Thank you, Keanu. I won't forget this." As Brad walked back to his post, he felt lighter, as though something inside him had shifted. The future of the mall, and maybe even his own future, seemed full of possibility now. And for the first time in a long time, Brad believed that anything was possible, as long as you stayed true to yourself and kept showing up. The journey of transformation that Brad and Keanu started together is a testament to the power of community, collaboration, and the willingness to embrace change. But their story isn't just a tale of one mall, it's a story of possibility. It's a reminder that every space, every community, has the potential to grow, evolve, and bring people together in ways that matter. Now, it's your turn. What changes can you make in your own community? How can you contribute to something bigger than yourself? Whether it's supporting a local business, starting a new project, or simply lending a hand to someone in need, each small action adds up to something greater. Take the first step today. Start the conversation. Build the connections. Let's create spaces where everyone feels welcome, valued, and heard. Because the power to change the world around you lies in your hands. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this story and believe in the power of community and positive change, please hit that like button, subscribe for more inspiring content, and share your thoughts in the comments below. Every like, subscription, and share helps us spread the message of kindness and transformation. Let's build a better world together, one story at a time.